Today, I'm going to be diving into the details that make these companies work, from their customer experience strategy to menu design, location selection, and by the end, I hope that you will understand how these brands actually make their money. Hi, my name is Matthew Evilsizer. I am a coffee consultant here in Los Angeles, California. Let's look at menu architecture. Starbucks. They really kind of brought to the mainstream market Italian coffee names, espresso, cappuccino, latte. Starbucks was one of the initial companies to really create this modular concept around coffee. And what this ultimately means is that you're taking a few base ingredients, creating a bunch of variable that can exist. What they're really allowing you to do is feel like you have a lot of control and a lot of customization, but they're ultimately having a fairly limited menu. Something else Starbucks does really, really well with their menus is these seasonal drops. Holidays are these emotionally intense times. So if we look at the pumpkin spice latte, for example, they have done an amazing job of tethering a beverage to a heightened time in our lives. McDonald's. They are less focused on creating all the customizations and being that full coffee shop concept. They're trying to be cost effective and give you a fair offering. But let's be real about it. They're really just using a kind of basic super automatic espresso machine. At the same time, look at this menu. They're still competing like pound for pound with the exact same drinks that Starbucks is doing. McCafe has been super successful for McDonald's. They're now selling like 8 million cups of coffee a day worldwide and almost 3 billion cups of coffee a year. Dunkin'. They're not trying to be the most luxurious. They're not trying to be the most sophisticated. And they are trying to switch themselves into more of an iced drink company. And there's a couple of upsides to that. Not only can you get better price margins on a highly customized big drink than you can on a drip cup of coffee, but it's also a lot quicker to make an iced beverage than it is to make a hot beverage. Notice Dunkin's menu pricing. They're not trying to be the most expensive. They removed the upcharge for the alternative milk. When they got rid of that, they really differentiated themselves as something who was trustworthy, who wasn't trying to nickel and dime you. Something else you'll notice is they're also offering a bigger size cup. So you're feeling like you're getting a lot more value for the price that you're spending. Dutch Bros. They are doing a great job of kind of flipping the script on how a coffee company is supposed to be. Dutch Bros is built around iced drinks, energy drinks. From there, they are adding in a ton of customization, and this is really how they're trying to differentiate themselves. And it becomes about the experience of building something that is your own. It becomes about adding in proteins, adding in different flavors. Roughly 65% of Dutch Bros customers are Gen Z, where it used to be about, I have this brand on my hand. Now it's about this drink that I have made represents me. That's how you create a connection to a brand, and it's how you create an upsell. Iced drinks make a lot of sense because, one, cold suppresses bitterness. So you are able to add on more caffeine, you're able to add in more sweet, and you're able to make this drink that's going to last longer. And that creates a easy entry point for a new coffee customer. Blank Street is the clear upstart in this group. They are almost 50-50 coffee and matcha, and they are trying to run that balance where they're also offering a lot of customizations and ways to create identity, but they are also focused primarily on iced drinks. So they are positioning themselves strongly towards that core demographic of Gen Z. They are using the high-end Eversys machine, and Eversys makes a really good product. It's able to put out a high volume without a lot of training. You're pushing a button, it gives you a great result. Consequently, they cost like $30,000 to $50,000 each, and that might be a part of why Blank Street might not be the most affordable. They really are bringing high quality coffee to the mainstream, and they can do it at an amazing scale, like 800 an hour. They focus on a few variants, but really they're putting most of their menu space into their specialty offerings. This is giving people a quicker way to go, oh yeah, I want that thing, as compared to having to think up all the customizations. Now let's talk about loyalty strategies. So loyalty programs are really about one of two things. It's either to get you to come back more frequently or to spend more. Starbucks is really focused on making you spend more. So their system is stars for every dollar spent. And so instead of frequency, this is really motivating higher price points so that people can get more stars. The more stars, the quicker they're going to get the add-ons that they want. You have data on what they buy, when they buy it, what types of ingredients they've ordered so you can run your store more effectively. Mobile order and pay now makes up about 30% of Starbucks ordering. This gift card functions as a bank for them. They are able to have a massive amount of capital that is just sitting there for them tax-free. Some of this money just never gets spent. You might lose this gift card or just forget that you have it. And that's just money that Starbucks gets to keep. They currently hold $1.8 billion on their apps and their gift cards. But I think the thing that's really not considered or taken into account is the credit card transaction fee. In high volume businesses like cafes, you're looking at 1.9 to 4% per transaction that you're spending 500 to 1,000 times a day. If you can get that money put onto a gift card, that's one transaction charge that's getting spent, and they're getting to use that card repeated times without having to have that credit card fee. This at volume is a huge savings. Dunkin' is really based on volume. True to themselves, they are focused on getting people to come through quickly and frequently. And that is how they are positioning themselves with their loyalty card. They also do kind of a unique thing where they've kind of gamified this. They almost make it like a spatial game so that you go back to different stores more frequently and that you're kind of engaging with their brand a lot more actively. For Dunkin', 60% of their revenue comes from their loyalty card members. Dutch Bros is another company who is leaning heavily into the loyalty card program. 72% of their transactions are from loyalty card members, and they are also focused on bringing people through the door more quickly, more frequently, and it becomes less about how much money they're spending. Something that also creates urgency is they put a 6-month timeline on those points. So you can't just sit there and accrue points unendingly or come back periodically. You have to actively engage with the business to keep your points alive. McDonald's does the same thing, but they're even more active with it. You have a very limited time to spend your points, but they give you points very liberally, and it's very quick to be able to earn up to things that you want. I honestly think that McDonald's has mastered the app ordering, and it really does create a habit. And the numbers show they have 210 million app subscribers. Not only are they giving you $1 fries, or you can get this coffee for $1, they are doing it within 15-minute windows. This is not only creating a sticky habit, but it is creating unexpected cash flow. So Blank Street has 2 different loyalty systems, actually. One is about accruing points to get people to spend more money, and the other is a subscription system. In 2024, I believe there was 4,000 people just on their waiting list to be able to join this subscription. What makes subscriptions genius just on a basic level? You know how much money you are going to be making every month. So they have 2 tiers, a $9 tier, and then you have a higher price point of $18, and that will get you some cold brew and a few more customizations. And you can get 14 drinks a week for that price. So it's something that's creating a really core customer. They're going to come back to you every day. These are how habits are created. If they're coming every 2 hours to get a coffee, they're probably going to get a pastry or some other add-on repeatedly throughout the day and throughout the week.
Now look, what Blank Street is doing to coffee isn't an isolated fluke. There is a massive structural shift happening across the entire retail and physical business space right now. Because this is moving so fast, my team and I actually built a tactical blueprint called the Retail Reset. Inside, we break down the exact 5 contrarian shifts transforming the space, including the weird reason why some of the fastest growing companies on earth are intentionally making their customer experience less convenient, and how you can copy that exact psychological trigger to improve your own margins. It's a hyper-focused 10-minute read, and it's completely free. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code right here on the screen.
So now let's talk about customer experience. How does this experience make me feel? Dutch Bros has built a brand on it. Broistas, as they are called, are really leaning into this. They're very friendly, they're very personable, and that customer experience portion is their brand. Additionally, they are really pushing you to customize your drink and make that thing that is going to be your personal identity. As these employees are speaking to the customers and the customers are saying, I want this, or I wish you had that, they're sending that feedback directly through, and these broistas are having a direct voice in creating new drinks, in bringing in new products, and continuing to evolve the Dutch Bros experience. This also shows up in their drive-through line model. There are multiple touch points throughout the way where their baristas and customer service people are able to come out and chat with you and again, create a personal connection. The amount you pay your employees is really going to be reflected in how they act towards your customers. We see this at Dutch Bros. They pay well. They are known for how happy and successful their employees are. I don't think that's a coincidence. Starbucks. It's all about the various sensory aspects. They were very intentional that they wanted to keep the theater of the espresso, and so they have positioned their espresso machine front and center on their bar so that you see it and that you know what they're doing and that it's transparent about what they're doing. You also have the smell of the coffee. You also have the sound of the beans grinding and the sound of the milk steaming. Notice there is no sound of steaming textured milk in McDonald's. Starbucks largely brought that writing your name on the cup thing to the forefront. So getting your name called out not only feels good, but it makes you feel like you're part of a culture. And that makes you feel like you're getting something that's custom and special and handmade. So Blank Street does do a few things right. They really are leaning into trends. So they've also been really leaning into celebrity endorsements like the Sabrina Carpenter ad based on her espresso song. You need to think of the experience from before people ever enter that restaurant. Something McDonald's does well is that they do a great job of picking locations that leave those golden arches in a visible sight during the time that you sit at a stoplight. And then surprise, surprise, it actually happens to be an easy right-hand turn from your lane into that store. That's not a coincidence. That is designed. And that ease of use is customer experience. So then it becomes, okay, how easy is it to park? How wide are my spaces to make it easy to open a door? How long does it take me to get into that door? And what's the aesthetic environment as I go through it? Customer experience, I can't say so much about Dunkin' or McDonald's, but let's leverage what they do very, very well. They are both super efficient. Their position is to be fast. They might not be the best product, but they're going to give it to you quickly. And this is maybe their strongest unique differentiator and really what they're trying to lean into. And this is a comfortable place for people. They don't always have to have great magical experiences. Sometimes you just want an affordable thing that you can get easily and consistently. Now let's talk about store design. This is going to affect how people feel about your brand, how long they stay, how much they spend, but it also is going to affect the efficiency of your business. All right, so let's start with Starbucks. They are really about the experience. This is a place that they want you to spend time. Starbucks created what they call the third place. It's not your office, it's not your house, but it's the place you go to spend time, have community, connect with your friends, read a book. If we look at these spaces, they're ultimately set up into kind of micro environments, and these are for different purposes throughout the space. This is more of a conversation pit. This is where people might sit and read a book. This one looks like a little bit of a mixed use. Often you'll see like more of a standing seating or individual seating right by the windows. This makes it seem like your stores are very busy. Or you might have the large communal table that sits in the middle. This is also a way to minimize the amount of space people are going to take so they don't take a whole tabletop. Something else that really needs to be taken into account is where the plugs are. By minimizing and controlling the amount of power outlets that are within a space, you're controlling the timeline that people are going to be spending in your business. Starbucks is really focused around the environment. That is kind of their unique differentiator in this category. And the environment is elevated, right? Like you're going to have some leather couches, you're going to have woods and dark colors and things that are going to feel more homey and more luxurious than other restaurants. If we then progress into McDonald's, they're a little bit more straight to the point. On pretty much any business's line item, employees are going to be the most expensive part. So they are driving you towards their kiosks. They want you to order yourself, to not take time away from one of the staff that need to be here. This thing is optimized to know how to sell to you perfectly. Having these personalizations will create an upcharge and probably get you to spend a lot more than you would have by that register person. There are darker colors in that cafe space and brighter colors in their restaurant space. And this to create a cultural differentiation of energy. I'm in a cafe, I'm in a burger joint. I really think though the Dutch Bros is doing a fantastic job of layouts for their drive-thrus. They control the flow of how quickly people are moving through to build hype, to always make it seem like there's people just waiting to get their product. You can't get better marketing than that. There's a general theory in business that you need to make at least 10 times your square footage to be profitable. The smaller your footprint, the quicker it will be to reach profitability. Dutch Bros has really, I think, maximized this model, and consequently, they are able to be one of the most profitable pound for pound, square foot for square foot businesses in the industry. The language for that is asset light, right? They don't have to have furniture. They don't have to have customer bathrooms. They have to be an efficient business that doesn't have any extra frills beyond what they need. Blank Street is the most modern brand that we're going to talk about. They created themselves in 2020 in Brooklyn, and they just had these tiny little electric powered carts, and they were really able to proliferate them around the city and create a buzz very quickly with a very small footprint. They are using this really innovative way of doing it by using a hub and spoke model. They're using their commissary as the hub, and they are then bringing all their carts back on a daily basis and then proliferating them back out into the city. They're currently 350 to 500 square foot for the average Blank Street. This is allowing them to be in premium locations with a much lower overhead cost. Dunkin' is everywhere on the East Coast. This container shaped, it's cheap to make, it's very easy to replicate, and it fits well into a lot of different environments, be that a grocery store or an airport. They are using these taps, and this looks cool, and I think it's a very effective method for them. And this is to position themselves into the new generation of what they want to be. Not just a drip coffee company, but a company that makes a wide variety of drinks customized for a lot of different people.